In the previous videos, we've seen that we were able to generate a function of two variables simply by typing the function in. Now we want to extend this so that we can generate parametric functions. That is, we're going to have a function of x and also a function of y and a function of z. And those will be dependent on the values a and b. So for example, if we wanted to regenerate this here in parametric form, we could put in a value of a, value of b, and if we copy this and change this one here to a value of a and a value of b, then we've generated the same function, but we've generated it in a parametric form. Now we were able to generate this parametric form of the equation by changing the outputs. So these are where our two original outputs here, this one and this one, and we've seen that we used these in order to generate the x coordinate here and the y coordinate. So the x coordinate had an x component, a y component, and a z component, which was a function of both of these h of t and g of t, and the same for this component here. We had an x, a y, and the z, which was a function of both the h of t and g of t. But now what we want is each of the axes to be a function of h of t and g of t. So that's what we've done down here. We've put in the two new outputs, and in these two new outputs, again, we're going to have an x component and a y component. The x component is going to be a function of x, y, and z, and these are all going to be functions of the two values h of t, g of t, h of t, g of t, h of t, and g of t, and we've got that also for the y component. And of course we generate the other set of lines by swapping round the g of t and h of t. So let's have a look at some examples and we'll see how much more powerful this setup is. So we could use this in order to generate a point in 3D space. For example, we can put the input here for f of x as x1, and then we'll have a y1 and a z1. And you can see here, as we move these round about, you can see that we're going to change the position of this point, and it's changing in 3D space. So you can see that if I was to adjust the angle here, and you can see that the point is in fact moving about in 3D space. We could also draw a line in 3D space between 2 points, x1, y1, z1 and x2, y2, z2. So for example here, we've got a line between the points 1, 1, minus 1 and minus 1, 1 and minus 1. And again, we can change the position of these points here and it will change the line, and this line is going to be changing within the 3D space. And that's using the parametric equations for the lines here. We can also use it in order to generate functions of one variable. So for example, we could draw the parabola y is equal to x squared. We put in a value for a, for x, and then a squared for y, and the value for z is equal to 0. And that's going to give us the parabola here, and you can see we can rotate that in all different directions as well. We could also shift the parabola by adding in variables. For example, c here would shift it in the z-axis, and we might add in another one here, could call that d, and it would shift it in the y-axis, and another variable here, say j, would shift it in the x-axis, so we can shift it round about in all of the axes. So with this setup, we can generate all of our functions of one variable in parametric form. And we've seen earlier that we can recreate our surfaces, which are a function of two variables, but in parametric form. So we are able to generate points, lines, functions of one variable, surfaces which are generated by functions of two variables, and finally we can generate shapes. So for example, this is the set of parametric equations required in order to generate a sphere. And you can see that if we were to rotate this round, we are now able to generate a sphere parametrically. And here are the equations for a helix. Now, through the rest of the video, I will leave a few more examples of parametric equations. But feel free to open up the tool and stick your own equations in. Now we have quite a powerful tool here that's able to generate a wide class of functions.